Hey everyone, welcome to another edition of PowerCore Productions and Podcastings. I'm your host, Javon Harrington, back to hit you with another video. And today we are going to be getting into Chainsaw Man Anime Review, Episode 5, titled Gun Devil. As always, if you're new to the channel or if you're a regular and you like what we have to offer, then please don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, share, and hit that bell for post notifications so you can stay up to date on everything that is PowerCore Productions and Podcastings that has to come out now and in the future. So getting into today's episode titled Gun Devil, this wasn't so much an action-oriented episode, more so than it's a transition as we go into the next arc of the story. We follow along with what happened in the previous episode as Denji was finally about to cop his feel, although the first squeeze was unfortunately fake. As Power demonstrated, she enjoys using pads. However, all would not be lost for Denji as he would still get a chance to squeeze on those round mounds. However, following his conquest and finally getting a chance to fondle a pair of lovely tits, Denji feels conflicted, and we see this throughout the episode, even up until when he's at the office with Makima filling out some paperwork following the events of the Bat Devil incident. And Makima asks him his situation because she can see that he's clearly in a bit of a rut. And here we have Denji, and we see more character development with his character, so to speak. And we see it in the main form of Denji's dream. Now, for those who have been listening to these reviews, we've been talking a lot about Denji's dream, or the idea of dreams and what they mean and what they represent. And how typically in shonen animes and in shonen mangas, our protagonists usually have a great or grand orienting type of dream, or the type of dream where their goals or their quest can typically affect and shake the world. Although Denji is a character that shies away from it. Now, while there are other animes that are typically slice of life and rom-coms that may have an action-like plot or setting, like say for example the anime Banished from the Heroes Party, we follow a protagonist who, in any typical setting, would have been a part of a grand quest to defeat the Devil King of his world and so, but following leaving the Heroes Party behind, he settles in a rather small town and becomes a pharmacist. And we see how he cultivates that into a dream. And it's something that he genuinely wants to pursue, doing something that's low-key and something that doesn't play into the grand scale of the events of the world. And Denji, even though he lives in a world where everything could be grand and have high stakes, we see that all in all, he has simple dreams that he wants to fulfill. But along with fulfilling those dreams, we see how once he achieves something, it starts to become the norm or the mundane, or it doesn't carry the same luster that it once did. For example, we see how Denji, when he first got a chance to eat some really good food, it was all that he could ever dream of, and he gave the food praise. He pretty much worshipped the food that he was able to eat non-stop. But if you notice throughout the next couple of episodes, Denji, he's basically eating like any normal person would. Now, I wouldn't say that he's taking it for granted, but he's becoming accustomed to it. And in a similar way, Denji's dream is to be with a girl, to have that experience, to touch tits. And once he does so, it just doesn't feel the same. And this is what he confides in Makima. And Makima basically explains to Denji that while having that dream is all well and good, something like that, it only means more when you're close to the person that you want to be with. And Makima, she basically allows Denji to hold her hand. She allows him to touch her ears, to feel on her cheeks. And the more Denji does, it drives that emotion that he has for her to be higher and higher. Similar to that, well, of a dog and its master. And then finally, he gets to cop another feel on Makima, and that just sends him into complete overdrive, because the difference being is that with Power, he does not have a built-in relationship with Power, or at least none more so than he does with Makima. Makima is the one that pulled him out of poverty. Makima is the one that's helped clean him up, that's helped get him into this nice situation, and she's the one that has Denji's affection at the moment. Not to say that Power isn't cool in her own right, but Denji literally just met Power in story less than a week ago, and from the time they've met, she's tried to double cross him, she's tried to have him killed, and essentially their exchange was not one that was genuine, but it was just a give and take. Whereas with Makima, she gives off the aura of wanting to fulfill Denji's dreams, of wanting to fulfill his wishes, that if he will only do what she says and listen to her and only her, he can have everything he ever wanted. And you see that manipulation coming into play with Makima. If you notice for a brief moment when Denji is talking and when Makima is looking at him, you see just for a brief glimpse that Makima really does not care for Denji at all. You can tell that she's using him, but you see how quickly she's able to put on a face or put on a front. And not that nothing she's saying isn't genuine or true, but you know that there are ulterior motives behind it. After Denji gets his chance of copping on Makima, he's basically swayed to do whatever she wants. And what she wants is for Denji to fight and kill the Gun Devil. Who is the Gun Devil, you might ask? Well, as you know, in the world of Chainsaw Man, devils are essentially fears that are manifested in given form when enough people are afraid of a certain idea or a certain thing. For example, if you have people in, say, a town who are killed violently by car crashes, people will have a fear of car crashes and car-related incidents. This could literally give birth to the Car Devil, which would basically be a devil with powers similar to that of a car. So maybe like an evil transformer, if you want to go there. But essentially, the Gun Devil is self-explanatory. People have a fear of guns. Guns cause a lot of violence and a lot of harm. And when you think about it in real life, with a lot of the issues that we have with gun control here in the United States, it's easy to understand why the Gun Devil would manifest in the United States in the first place, as gun laws here in the US tend to be a lot more lax compared to other countries. But we learn of what happened with the Gun Devil incident from 13 years ago. Essentially, the Gun Devil manifested in America after the swell of violence with guns, after the censorship of guns and trying to bring them from the mainstream. And we see how once the Gun Devil was able to take form, that it caused a lot of damage, killing 1.2 million people. Also, because of the power and the influence of the Gun Devil, it is so incredibly strong that it is hard to pin down and it is hard to kill. We even see the origin for Aki and his backstory and how he became the way he was when his family and pretty much his whole town got mowed down by the Gun Devil. But Makima has faith and believes that Denji has the power to beat him, and she tells Denji that if he is able to beat the Gun Devil, then she will grant him any wish that he wants. And she puts an emphasis on anything. Do I mean anything? I mean anything. And Denji's mind thinks of a whole lot of anything. And as another wise protagonist once said, there are a lot of things that you can put inside of anything. A wise man that was from a show called High School DxD, which we will still hold in high regard to this day. But in either case, Denji now has the motivation. If he can beat the Gun Devil, then he can get his wish from Makima. Now, though, we do learn more about how the Gun Devil works and how it operates, in that the Gun Devil does have flesh that are actual bullets that come off of his body every time that he moves and every time he commits his killings. Because of this, if you're able to collect pieces of the Gun Devil, they pretty much join together and they're essentially like bullets, so they stick together like magnets, and doing so is a good way of tracking him down. Also, as a side note, for devils, if they swallow a piece of the Gun Devil, they become significantly stronger. Even weaker devils can become really powerful if they swallow just a tiny piece of the Gun Devil. For example, being of the fish devil that was apparently a lot more challenging according to Himeno, as she and Aki were dealing with it, as it had managed to swallow a piece of Gun Devil that they were tracking down. But Makima sends the Special Division 4 team on a case to track down a devil that potentially has eaten a piece of the Gun Devil. And here's where we are introduced to the other members of the Special 4th Division. Along with Aki, Denji, and Power, we also meet the likes of Himeno, who is a senior of the team along with Aki, as well as the other recruits who are rookies along with Denji and Power. The other ones being the first, the lovable but always fearful Kobeni. And Kobeni needs a hug. So if you wouldn't mind pressing F's in the comment section to pretty much give Kobeni a hug, because she truly needs it. That girl has been through an awful lot, and trust me, before the first part of this series is over, you're going to see just all of the ways that you can terrify a young girl that truly does not want to be here, but she really does not have a choice in the matter. We also get introduced to Ari, who is a part of the team. He's pretty much the no-nonsense, straightforward guy, even more no-nonsense than even Aki is. Because even for as serious as a person like Aki can be, even he can be lax, and even he can let his personality show. But Ari is essentially the Ida, if you will, if you know Ida from My Hero Academia. He has that type of personality where he's super respectful, super rigid, always trying to stay focused on the mission at hand. So we have our team put together, and they're sent to a hotel to investigate where this devil is that potentially ate some of the Gun Devil, and they're using a piece of Gun Devil that they have themselves to try to use it like a magnet to track down wherever it might be. And as they make their way into the hotel, we see a brief demonstration of one of our newest characters' powers and abilities, that being Himeno. We see this when a head, that's just a head, with a pair of feet comes charging out of one of the hotel rooms and almost attacks Kobeni, but is stopped in mid-air, and Power uses her blood knife to cut it in half. Now, Power believes that at first she was the one responsible for killing it and capturing it, but actually it was because of Himeno and her ability, and that being from the contract that she's made with the Ghost Devil. Essentially, in exchange for her right eye, which is now covered by an eye patch, she gained the ability to have the right arm of a ghost. So she basically has an unseen arm that she can use to capture and attack her enemies, which is actually pretty powerful. And you see how the deal with the contractors work when it comes to using their devil abilities. How, for example, with Aki, whenever he has to use his wolf devil, he has to give up some blood to it, or with the terms of the ghost devil, you have to give up a part of your body to use a part of the ghost. So you see how that dichotomy works in that regard. It takes a sacrifice in order to use the power, and depending on how big the sacrifice is, that determines how much of the power that you're able to use at any given time. So as our team makes their way deeper into the hotel, we see that they're having a bit of a clash of personality as the team is trying to get to know one another and they're trying to work together. And we see how Himeno is really the kind of the older sister slash practical joker of the team, more so than anyone else, and that she's truly like the polar opposite of Aki in a lot of ways, and how she basically teases the rookies, especially offering a reward to anyone who's able to kill the devil that they're hunting, this reward being in the form of a kiss. Now, under normal circumstances, you think that Denji would have hopped on this opportunity, but actually he didn't, because Denji, after having his talk with Makima, had decided that he wanted to find something that was genuine. So because of this, he's still holding out for the reward that Makima wants to give him. However, because of this, Himeno decides to up the stakes a little bit, if you will, and she decides to promise that whoever beats the devil gets to have a special kind of kiss. A kiss with some tongue action. And once Denji heard this, well, it was off to the races for him, and now he has more motivation than he's ever had, because now he wants to see what that mouth do, or what that tongue do, to be more specific. And we see now that the team is going to be in for a bit more than they bargained for, especially towards the end of the episode as the team are making their way from the 8th floor to the 9th floor, when Ari ends up seeing a certain pattern. The pattern being that where they had confronted the head devil that tried to attack them, its bloodstains are still on the same wall. So he tests this out first by trying to go down the stairs, which should lead him to the 7th floor. However, he ends up coming down the 9th floor, which leads him back to the 8th floor. And after doing this a series of more times, our team now realizes that they are caught in a loop. A loop where they are on the 8th floor, but when they try to go to the 9th floor, they end up coming up the 7th floor right back to the 8th, keeping them permanently stuck on the 8th floor, which is moving around in one loop. And that was where the episode ended for now. All in all, in terms of the animation and in terms of the pacing, I'd say that it's pretty much been consistent as always, solidly, and they're moving along to the story at a nice pace. Now, we are entering into episode 6, which is pretty much the midway point for the first season, as we are getting 12 to 13 episodes. So I'd say for the first 5 episodes that we've had, we've made good progress getting through the manga portion of the story so far, but there's still a lot more that will be left to be seen. All in all, I do think that what this episode lacked in action, it made up for in terms of story. And if I would say anything, I think that one important aspect with Chainsaw Man is that there are a lot of little things you may not pick up on the first time around that you might get if you rewatch it a second time. For those who aren't manga readers, such as myself and anyone else who's listening to this, if you've already read the manga, then you already know a lot about what happens in the story, so there's no need for me to go over it for you. But for everyone else, I would say, genuinely speaking, after you've watched season 1, when it's done in its entirety, take a chance to rewatch it a second time, and I think you'll see a lot of things that you may miss the first time, because while the show is being built on its action, I think it's the non-action scenes when you have Denji reflecting on himself, reflecting on his dreams, and you have these different views of philosophy and things like that, where I think the show can truly shine. Because again, Denji, he's not your average protagonist, but I think because he's not your average protagonist, it makes a lot of his interactions all the more deeper in their own way when you're truly looking for it. But all in all, I think this was a very good episode as we transition into the next arc. Truly solid animation, top tier as always. The voice acting, truly love it, and I can't wait for you all and everyone else to see what our characters have in store going forward. But anyway, that's going to do it for the end of today's video. I'm Javon Harrington with Power Core Productions and Podcastings. Until next time, signing off. Peace.